Now,
Tonight, a Fox 11 exclusive follow-up to a story that sparked outrage across Los Angeles. The woman we first showed you living inside a storm drain has now been identified by her family. Fox 11's Matthew Seedorf joining us now after speaking with her loved ones.
Yeah, Susan, this really is heartbreaking. They're sharing pictures and videos from better times, revealing the person behind the headlines they're trying to get back.
If I could take back the past.
A voice once full of life, now hard to understand.
How
did she get in the situation that she's in?
Drugs.
Loved ones say this woman is 43-year-old Jamila Robinson, a mother of 3.
She's a wonderful person, a loving person.
We first found her last week in South LA, living in a storm drain.
When I viewed it, it just so happened to be my sister, and that's how I found out about her living situation.
Her sister, Camila, hadn't seen her in years. Were you surprised when you saw what she was living in?
No.
Well, their mother, Linda, says she speaks with Jamila almost every day.
It's the second time she's been in the sewer. The one up on Winchell's, it was like 20 of them over there.
20 in one sewer?
In one sewer. They had to cover it up.
Last week, Fox 11 first exposed the underground encampment where Jamila climbed in and out, not willing to say much on camera. Below ground, human waste, trash, and an overpowering stench. I gotta get back. As a mom,
I'm dying. I'm dead. I tried, Matthew. I've done everything I was told. As long as she could tell me no, or tell the courts no, that she didn't want the help, they couldn't help her.
Within 24 hours of our exclusive report, the city moved in. Hazmat crews declaring it a hot zone. The next day, sealing the drain shut with asphalt. Wednesday, the last time we saw Jamila, outreach teams offering help as she walks away.
I'm saddened to see that she just walks away like that. Would love to see them be more forceful in helping her.
Just take her, because she's not mentally able to think straight for herself.
If it was a daughter or sister or mother of the mayor's, where is such a place that she would take them? Instead of just allowing them to walk away, forcefully come to them and say, hey, I'm here to help you.
The woman, once known for singing, now still out there.
I know it's hard sometimes.
While her family's fighting to find her voice again.
I couldn't get the courts to see the mentalness in her. Now the world can see the mentalness in her. And maybe I can get the help that I need and she needs now.
I want to tell her that I love you, Jamila, and that I am here standing and speaking on your behalf, and that I want to fight for them, for the city, for the mayor to not just give up on you, but to actually pour into you where you are unable to pour into yourself.
Jamila hasn't been seen or heard from since Wednesday. Her family says they're going to keep pushing for her health and more aggressive intervention.
So they kept saying if this was the mayor's sister, the mayor would force her, Jamila, to get some help. But that's actually against the law.
Yeah, I mean, this is a much broader issue than just what she's experiencing. There's thousands of people across LA living on the streets that just won't accept treatment. So the question is, what do you do with those people? How do you get them the help that they clearly need?
And that's why there are people talking about changing the laws and changing city ordinances as well. All right, Matthew Seedorf.
Ancient line that is both real and not real. You can't see it, but it's there all the same. If you stood on the coast of Bali and looked east to the shores of Lombok, you'd be staring right at the line's narrowest point, a 32-kilometer stretch of water that seems pretty unassuming. This invisible barrier weaves its way through the entire Malay archipelago, the largest collection of islands on the planet. See, on the western side, the animal life is characteristic of Asia, featuring rhinos, elephants, tigers, and woodpeckers, to name a few. But cross the line, and things suddenly change. You won't find those same species on the eastern side. Instead, the islands have a totally different cast of ecological characters, including marsupials, Komodo dragons, cockatoos, and honey-eaters. This is what scientists call a biogeographic boundary, the meeting point of two regions of biodiversity that are highly distinct. And this particular line, called the Wallace Line, is perhaps the sharpest and most iconic of all. So how did this invisible line come to be? Why does it shape the distribution of so many species? How did we figure out the path it takes? And how could it be both real and imaginary? The Wallace Line was first sketched out in 1859 by a guy named, wait for it, Wallace. Alfred Russel Wallace, to be exact, a British naturalist who you might have also heard of as the co-discoverer of natural selection. That concept came to Wallace in a literal fever dream as he lay bedridden with malaria during part of his 8-year trip around the Malay archipelago. And while it ended up being overshadowed by Darwin on that front, the second best idea he had on that trip was the existence of the Wallace Line. I mean, two good ideas in one trip. This idea helped to forever establish him as the father of biogeography, the study of the distribution of living things. He had spent his voyage observing and collecting as many species as he could, hopping from island to island across almost the entire archipelago. And it was as he moved east from Bali to Lombok that he first noticed something intriguing. Even though the islands were separated only by a narrow strait, the change in animal life wasn't gradual and subtle. It was sudden and distinct. Wallace saw the differences in animal life between the two as being even more striking than between England and Japan. It was birds that initially caught his attention. Certain species that were plentiful on Java and Bali, like the yellow-headed weaver, coppersmith barbet, and the Javanese three-toed woodpecker, didn't exist at all on Lombok. And this abrupt shift extended to mammals and even many insects too, almost as if an invisible barrier was separating two different worlds. But why and how? The biogeographic line that he drew, which others would tweak in later years, didn't just reflect the proximity of the islands. In fact, some islands on opposing sides of the line are closer to each other than many islands on the same sides are to one another. So Wallace realized that other more mysterious forces must be in play, like, say, geology. He recognized that the geological past shapes the biological present. And because the distribution of living species today partly reflects ancient geological events, he saw biogeography as a way to uncover epic chapters of the planet's history that might otherwise have been unknowable. These concepts are easy to take for granted today. We talk about them all the time here on Eons. But they were still fairly new ideas in Wallace's day. And by taking
Right now on Jamaica News page tonight. A tense confrontation caught on camera. A man already in handcuffs that clashes with police in Savlamar. The video now sparking debate across social media.
So I was watching YouTube, and this video came up. It was about an African tribe starting a new kingdom in Scotland.
Welcome to the so-called Kingdom of Kabbalah, where a self-proclaimed African tribe reclaiming land taken from their ancestors 400 years ago.
And honestly, all of that night and the next morning, I couldn't stop thinking about it.
And they call themselves the King, the Queen, and the Handmaiden.
Is it some kind of performance art or a protest? Or was this a straight-up cult?
And it has become somewhat of a spectacle here in Scotland. Clearly, this is a very unusual sight.
So on a whim, I decided to drive up to Scotland to see if I could meet them and find out for myself. But it was only really on the way up that I discovered there was so much more to this story than I could have ever imagined.
Our hold has been bent to the ground.
Manipulative and coercive behaviour.
The first thing a cult is known to do is separate you from those that love you.
She had all her children taken away from her.
Jean being arrested, spending time in prison.
Someone's just sent me images of their previous home and wow, what is that?
She was groomed and manipulated. Lily Safi is not here anymore.
Prison.
Someone's just sent me images of their previous home and wow, what is that?
She was groomed and manipulated. Lily Safi is not here anymore.
I knew that the tribe was located near an industrial estate in the village of Jedburgh. Maybe the Scottish residents here could give me a better understanding of what I was headed into.
Have you guys heard about the kingdom?
Of Kabbalah?
Yeah. And I'm trying to find some people who know anything about the Kingdom of Kabbalah.
Oh, God. No, you're not going to... Oh, no. I don't get anything about them, to be honest, so... Oh, Jesus.
NASA is sending humans back to the moon. They'll go faster and further than ever before, but end up in the same place we went more than 50 years ago. So why spend billions and risk lives to do it all again? Well, the real goal is colonising the moon before the competition. And the race is on.
2, 1... Boosters in ignition. And liftoff of Artemis 1.
That was 2022, the launch of Artemis 1, an uncrewed test of the world's most powerful rocket and its Orion spacecraft. Now comes Artemis 2, a test of the same hardware, but now with humans in the loop. A 700,000-mile loop that will take the 4 astronauts around the moon and back, the first people to go there since 1972. The rocket is called the Space Launch System, 98 metres, slightly taller than Big Ben. Its core stage is this orange thing. It's filled with Olympic swimming pools worth of liquid oxygen and hydrogen fuel. Strapped to the sides are 2 solid rocket boosters, which, like other parts of the SLS, are upcycled bits from previous space shuttle missions. They'll fall away, having sent the astronauts most of the way into space. They'll then lose the rest of the rocket entirely, because on top of the whole thing sits the Orion spacecraft, housing the astronauts and an in-space propulsion system. The crew will blast off from Florida, performing safety checks and system checks in a low Earth orbit. If all's okay, the propulsion system boosts them higher. Orion then separates, performing a final high Earth orbit before a translunar injection burn that boosts them on their 4-day trip to the moon. After 5 days in space, Orion will swing behind the moon, temporarily blocking communication with Earth. They'll then use the moon's gravity to help fling them all the way back to Earth and a splashdown in the Pacific Ocean. Astronauts on Apollo 8 made the same journey in 1968, capturing the now iconic Earthrise image. Artemis will take much better pictures than these and a wider orbit, sending the crew further away from Earth than any humans in history. And they'll face new risks too. Re-entering our atmosphere, they'll be travelling faster than humans have ever gone before, exposing their spacecraft to temperatures 3 times hotter than lava. And the crew is different too. Its commander, NASA astronaut Reed Wiseman. Orion's pilot, Victor Glover, will become the first person of colour to go to the moon. His NASA colleague, Christina Koch, becomes the first woman in lunar orbit, and Jeremy Hansen of the Canadian Space Agency, the first non-American to make the journey. But they are boldly going where man has gone before. The point of this test flight, NASA insists, is a small step towards people on the lunar South Pole, where frozen water could support a moon base. The fact China plans to land a crew at the South Pole by 2030 has put a rocket up the agency.
In a great competition with a rival that has the will and the means to challenge American exceptionalism across multiple domains, including in the high ground of space. This is not the time for delay, but a time for action. Because if we fall behind, if we make a mistake, we may never catch up, and the consequences could shift the balance of power here on Earth.
If all goes to plan, next year, Artemis 3 will go into Earth orbit to perform tests on more mission hardware, including a human landing system. If that works, the landing vehicle will go to the moon on Artemis 4 to put the first ever astronauts on the lunar South Pole in 2028. NASA has also announced a highly ambitious plan to scale up robotic missions to the moon, targeting 1 a month, to start construction of a lunar base at the South Pole, with future plans for up to 2 crewed missions a year to staff the base. So the race is really on, but it depends on major long-term funding and no mishaps. It's not just 4 astronauts riding on Artemis 2, but America's hopes for dominance in space.
Come on, up you get.
This spring, the most sought-after commodity in agriculture isn't sunshine or rain. It's in these tanks.
We sit before the farmers in the food chain.
Fertiliser is fundamental to feeding the nation.
If I didn't put any on, it would be half the yield.
But since the Iran war began, it's soared in price, along with natural gas.
If the prices stay where they are, disaster.
The start of the growing season brings a steady stream of tankers to Breinflow's Great Yarmouth terminal. They're loading liquid nitrogen to spray on crops across the country. Thanks to the war, they may be spreading food inflation too.
In these tanks is liquid fertiliser. It's come from natural gas, turned into ammonia, and from ammonia into nitric acid and urea.
And it's fundamental to food production in Britain and around the world?
The world can hold about, well, it has 10 billion people. Without nitrogen fertilisers, like the sort of fertilisers you have in this tank, the world could sustain perhaps 3 or 4 billion. 6 billion would have to go.
Fertiliser prices have risen because it's an energy product. The price of natural gas has skyrocketed, and Gulf production, normally a third of global supply, is stranded. We make less than half of what we need at home. The fertiliser here comes from the gas fields of Trinidad, but there's no escaping the increase.
It's a really serious situation. In some respects, it's worse than it was 4 years ago in the Ukrainian situation. And we all know what happened 6 months later. There was 10% inflation, and that knocked the government right back. And I just hope the government needs to grip this. Can the proposed increases in fertiliser taxes wholly counterproductive? And let's focus on the cost of living.
Those white sacks are full of urea. It's a crucial ingredient in fertiliser. Since the war began, each 1-tonne bag has almost doubled in value from around $300 to more than $600. And it's happened at precisely the worst moment. In Britain and across Europe, it is the growing season. These tankers are filling up with liquid fertiliser to be sprayed on crops. But if farmers haven't bought and paid for it already, they're going to be paying twice as much. And in a few months' time, one way or another, that will show up on your food bill. Lovely spring day.
Gorgeous, isn't it?
Yeah.
150 miles west in the Cotswolds, beef farmer David Barton is already counting the cost. It's peak calving season and his heifers are enjoying the last of the winter feed stock. He needs fertiliser so his pasture will sustain them and their calves through summer and fill his barns with silage for next winter after last year's heatwave left them empty.
Fertiliser, traditionally livestock farmers tend to buy it in the spring. That had gone from about £370 a tonne for the compound that I buy to £479. I ordered it, I got a price on a day, I ordered it that afternoon. The following day I was told it's gone up £20 a tonne.
And what difference will the fertiliser make to the kind of yield?
Oh, if I didn't put any on, it would be half the yield.
It's howling now.
It's horrid, yeah, it's vile.
If we looked at this at the end of August, it was like a desert. There wasn't anything green on the farm.
It wasn't growing because of the heat. You couldn't feed them at the time, nor could you store any for the winter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's a kind of double whammy.
It was a double whammy, yeah.
It's about 70 miles.
70 miles of tomatoes.
And you couldn't walk it in a day.
No, that's incredible.
Yep.
In the glass houses of the Lee Valley north of London, they are primed for picking. The first crop of sweet peppers will be plucked this week. The cherry tomatoes will start to follow in mid-April. A seasons-defying miracle only made possible by energy and the artificial summer created by heating and fertiliser. Gas-guzzling processes that leave horticulture exposed to the price shock triggered by the war in the Gulf.
It's beautifully warm in here.
Yep.
I'm guessing you're paying for the heating.
Yep. We try and keep the site around 22, 23 degrees.
What's happened to the price of that gas?
The price of that gas has gone up 92% in 4 weeks, which is absolutely staggering.
If the prices stay where they are...
Disaster. And that is not only for this organisation, but every organisation that's involved in producing food.
While energy prices have risen and labour costs can go no lower than the minimum wage, crop prices are effectively fixed. Contracts struck with supermarkets last autumn mean growers shoulder all the risk, leaving them with a choice as peak season approaches.
It's absolutely not viable. I mean, the growers are at a crossroads now. You can see they've planted. They've got to make a decision. If they can't get more money for their produce, then they're going to have to either stop, send everyone home and lose some money, or carry on and lose even more.
For now, farmers and growers are bearing the brunt of the energy price spike, their narrow margins squeezed even tighter. If the war continues, by the time this summer's crops are harvested, consumers will be counting the cost too.